Well, the official start of hurricane season is June 1st, but we've already got one storm to contend with. Now, one tool to help forecast those storms is used hundreds of times every season and thousands of times if it's a busy season. Meteorologist Jeremy Baker explains what that tool is.
This is called a dropsonde. It is a tool that is crucial in forecasting the track and intensity of tropical storms and hurricanes. And many of these have already been used this year ahead of hurricane season thanks to subtropical storm Alberto.
The technology has changed simply from the aspect of we are now able to provide more accurate, higher temporal resolution data that really feeds some of the numerical models that are related to tropical cyclone hurricane forecasting.
Dr. Kevin Petty is the Chief Science Officer for Vaisala, who manufactures over 2,000 dropsondes every year.
When we talk about where's a hurricane going to make landfall and how intense that hurricane is going to be at the time of landfall, these instruments are vital to allowing us to know that information.
The dropsonde is released from a Hurricane Hunter aircraft that flies through the storm. As it falls through the atmosphere and the storm, it measures parameters like wind speed, wind direction, temperature, relative humidity, and barometric pressure before splashing down in the water. Hurricane Hunters dropped 8 dropsondes in one mission earlier today in the eastern Gulf of Mexico in subtropical storm Alberto. These tools are essential in forecasting large and dangerous storms, including Hurricane Harvey.
The research shows that dropsondes improve our track forecast anywhere from 15 to 20%. And from the intensity side, we see improvements generally from 10% to 15%.
Vaisala is also using dropsondes off the west coast of the U.S. to research atmospheric rivers. They're like rivers of air in the sky to try to improve daily weather forecasts, including for us here in South Texas. Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
Pretty fascinating stuff, and we have the Vaisala right here. Reminds me of an artillery shell or firework. Yeah, but it's not a toy like a firework.
Yeah, it does actually look a lot like that. It's kind of the reverse of a weather balloon. We launch the weather balloon up, and it takes all that data. We take this one, drop it out of the plane, as Jeremy was just showing, out of the Hurricane Hunter plane, and it really helps us because what it does, it has us see if the computer models are right or wrong on where they're placing low pressure, humidity. So this really is one of those great tools, just like a weather balloon. It's expensive, and they only get launched in certain situations.
Yeah. You have to wonder where we will be in 10, 20 years as far as predicting these storms. Because it's amazing where we are now, I think.
Hopefully we're going to be better, and hopefully these are going to be better as well. Hopefully I'll do a better job as well.